Hello, friends. My name is Dean. Welcome to another episode of Amateur Adventures in Beekeeping. As I've been making these videos, I'm starting to realize more and more that I'm not really interested in making tutorial videos because I'm not an expert in the topic. I thought it would be interesting for people to kind of see what happens when an amateur person takes up beekeeping. And so tonight, as I run my most recent hive inspection, I thought I would just talk to you guys straight about the experience and where it's at, where it's been, kind of the emotions and the learning curve, and some of the things that I thought I'd be worried about that I'm not worried about now, and things that I never thought I'd be worried about that I am worried about now. And so let's jump in. I'm going to let the hive inspection just play while I'm chatting. So that'll give you something to watch besides me just sitting here chatting, and I'll kind of walk you through it. So I got my bees on May the 4th. Very convenient for me. May the 4th be with you. Prior to that, I had spent about a year doing research. I'd listened to some podcasts that go back several years about people who were beekeepers. And I kind of always thought, man, it would be interesting to have a beehive in my yard, or have one somewhere if I had a property, a homestead or something that would be accommodating. But I don't. I live in a residential neighborhood. I have a fairly normal size yard. It's just a little more than a quarter-acre lot. And it's kind of in a cul-de-sac, so it's pie-shaped like this. The front yard is tiny, and the backyard is actually quite large. So I did some scouting around, looked for bees, kind of thought about hive placement, where it would get some sun and also some shade. And so, I picked a spot, contacted a local beekeeper. I actually took a beekeeping class at the extension office for our county. And I'm feeling like I'm trying to get as prepared as I can. I had watched hours and hours of content on beekeeping on YouTube. So you can see here, I'm kind of kicking through the super. There is quite a bit of comb built out. Again, I'm not trying to do a tutorial, but I'm impressed with what the bees have got done. There's some capped over honey up there, and there's a lot of honey down in the box. But anyway, there was so much emotion in getting the bees. I went out, I had got my hive, got my spot picked out, and I went and picked up my nucleus. The box is actually sitting right over here on the ground next to me. It was a 5-frame nucleus. The local beekeeper was very helpful. Gave me some good instruction, gave me a hive feeder. For the money that I spent, which I think was around $150, everything seemed like a good value, and the guy has been a decent resource in the couple of times that I've reached out to him for more help. So it was kind of at that point, driving home with the bees, that I realized, okay, this endeavor is kind of intense. There was a lot of, I wouldn't call it anxiety, but I had never worked with bees before. I had got my bee suit and some gloves, a nice suit that at least comes to my waist. I wasn't necessarily afraid of bees, but I had no idea what to expect. So I got them home. I, got suited up, worked for a while trying to figure out how to get the smoker working. And you can go back and watch these videos. This was 9 weeks ago. So today is July the 8th. Sorry, 9 weeks after I picked up the bees. And at this point, okay, I got the bees into the hive. I got it closed up. It was trickier than I thought. I was more nervous around the bees than I thought I would be. They were flying around a lot. I was worried about if they were going to basically all just go out of the hive and fly away. I didn't really locate the queen on that first endeavor. I didn't really even try. I just figured, get them into their box and get out of their way. And actually finding the queen, I mean, that's been something that's been an ongoing theme. I have seen one of the queens that I've got in this hive at least one time. That's actually the only time. I've only ever seen the queen one time. So I started doing inspections on a weekly basis, and I got a little more comfortable with certain aspects of the beekeeping. I definitely got to where I felt like I was controlling my emotions a little bit better. I came up with some coping strategies, because what I would find as I was doing my early inspections, the first couple, is I'm just trying to look and see what they're doing. You know, I want to see, do the frames that I put in there with no wax on them, are they building wax? And there's an amazing full frame of honey capped over on one side, and there's a couple other ones. Because of that feeder that's in the box right there, it seems like everything shifted over to the far side of the hive. So the brood, instead of being central in the hive, is kind of shifted the two frames over to the edge. But there's pretty good brood in here too, you'll see. Anyway, you know, I'm writing instructions for myself. Like when I do this inspection, these are the things I want to look for. I want to look for, you know, are there any other bugs in there? Are there any beetles? Am I able to see any mites? Now that I've seen mites after I did a mite wash, to see them on your bees is probably pretty difficult without a special camera or something. But, you know, I started getting more systematic about what I was looking for, and I felt like things were going pretty well. But in truth, every time I got in the hive, I kind of wished I had more guidance. So posting these videos has been a nice thing, because there are people in beekeeping world. There's one in particular who watches the channel, Texas Beekeeper. He's watched all my videos, and every single time he gives me some advice. For instance, what you're seeing right now, there's quite a bit of space between the frames that I'm working, because in the last video that I posted, he said, hey, I see you're pulling out a frame, but you need to cram everything off to the side of the box, and then every time you replace a frame, keep as much space between that frame and the next frame so that you don't accidentally roll your queen. Rolling the queen. Speaking of which, so about my third or fourth inspection, I was inspecting a frame and I dropped the frame. There's a video of that. I've already posted it. And the bees just went everywhere. And I didn't panic. You know, I picked up the frame. I apologized to the bees. It was a clumsy mistake. And I put it back in. That moment, I thought, wow, I hope I didn't kill the queen, smash her or something. And then for about 3 weeks after that, I had high levels of anxiety as I was doing my inspections after that. And I've got like 2 hours of videos that I haven't made videos for. I don't know that I'm even going to. But as I would do these inspections, the brood looked spottier and spottier. And I don't know if I got in my own head or not, but I wasn't seeing any eggs. I wasn't seeing any larvae. And so I started getting the hunch or getting the suspicion that something had happened to the queen. Either I dropped her out of the hive when I dropped the frame, or I had maybe accidentally pinched her or smashed her, because every single time you do inspections, you smash a couple of bees. I have been unable to avoid it. You can hear them crunching when you put the boxes back together, and I try to smoke them off and do different strategies, but yeah, it's I've smashed plenty of bees. So I'm learning as I go. I'm looking at things. I'm getting some advice from the community, but I'm unable to locate my queen. I do a couple inspections. Each time I'm more suspicious. I'm not seeing evidence of a queen. So I call the beekeeper that I was working with, and I said, hey, I think I lost my queen. I don't know if I smashed her. I don't know if she's out of the hive. And he asked me a couple questions, and I kind of answered them. You know, I'm not seeing any larvae. I'm not really seeing any eggs. So I make arrangements to get a queen about 3 days from the point of that inspection. Okay, this goes back about 3 weeks ago. So I was in about 5 weeks at that point. I pick up my queen on a Saturday. On Sunday, I do a hive inspection. And lo and behold, when I opened up the hive, I'm seeing some larvae.
Okay.
I'm seeing some eggs. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, now I've got 2 queens, and I don't really want to split the hive because I don't really want to manage 2 hives, and I don't want to try to sell a nucleus, and I don't want to try to figure out. And quite honestly, I was like exhausted and a little exasperated, and I don't know how long you can keep a queen inside of a little queen cage with candy in it and have her be okay. So I made kind of a crazy decision, and I just put her in the hive. I figured one of 3 things could happen. Now, I knew from studying that you could get just one of your non-queen bees. You could get just one of your worker bees laying eggs. And if they do that, they're unfertilized and they're only going to be drones. And even that was in my head. Like, geez, I'm seeing a lot of drones in here. So I just decided, you know what? We'll let nature do what nature's going to do. If I put a second one in and they decide they're going to swarm, okay, they're going to swarm. If she gets rejected and they kill her, I'm out $25 and there's still a queen bee in there somewhere. Those were kind of the 2 options I figured would happen. So I stuffed it in there. It's actually in this box right here where the little queen cage was. I think I just pointed to it right there. And I'll pull it out here in a minute and throw it on the ground. So definitely they freed the queen. The candy was gone. The queen was out. And in this inspection, again, I'm looking for the queen, and I don't really ever find her. This is new wax right here, but as I get to the far side of the box where the brood chamber seems to be, there is a pretty good brood pattern. There are some larvae in there. So the queen is working, but I'm not ever able to see her. So I'm going to rewind now and kind of talk about some of the things that I expected that didn't happen, and some of the things that I didn't expect to happen that are happening, and then things maybe I wish I would have known, or resources I wish I had access to. So first of all, the fears that I had in getting the bees. I had no idea what to expect. I was assuming, because I'm a fairly hardy person, and usually when I set out to do something, I'm pretty good at doing it. I figured I'd be okay, and that all of the studying that I had done would have me pretty prepared for the bees. In reality, all of the studying, all of the videos I watched, they are no substitute for practical knowledge and for actually getting your hands in there and what it's like to have them buzzing around you in real life, in real time. And so I kind of underestimated the undertaking that it has been to keep the bees. Okay. The flip side is I am learning each time.
Nice.
But what I wish I had access to resource wise, and I'm getting some of it from the community. This Texas Beekeeper has been an amazing resource. It would be incredible if I had an experienced beekeeper as a mentor that would come over and go through my hive with me a couple of times. Tell me what he's looking at, what he's seeing. I can identify all the components. I've studied enough to know, okay, well, this is nectar. What capped over honey looks like versus capped over brood. I've been able to identify the larvae. I've been able to see some eggs, but I see less eggs. I mean, the frames are filled with nectar, a lot of them. So I'm wondering, where is the queen laying eggs? When is she laying eggs? They can lay up to 2,000 eggs a day. So there's that queen cage right there, and you see that it's empty. The candy is gone. Shake the bees off and just kind of discard, and then I threw it away later. But having a hands-on mentor would be huge. So if you're going to take up beekeeping, I would try to find somebody when you go to the extension clinic or you get involved in a local beekeeping club, which there is one here. They just meet like an hour and a half away from where I'm at, And it's not that far of a drive. I actually commute halfway there to go to work every single day. So going a little bit further, I could attend one of those, and I could probably locate somebody here locally who would come and go through it with me. And it's something I still think I'm going to do, is try to get a professional to come go through my hive with me a time or two and show me, okay, well, this is what you're looking for, but this is what you're missing. So that would be something in hindsight I wish I would have spent more time trying to procure, is a mentor that could come on site and go through the hive with me a couple of times. One of the things that I thought would be a big problem that hasn't been a problem is I have my hive in my backyard. I have neighbors on all sides of me. And I thought that maybe the bees would be a pest. Maybe my neighbors would complain. And I have talked to a couple of my neighbors, but I didn't really go around and tell them all, hey, this is what I'm going to do, and get permission from people. It probably would have been a good idea, but it's not something that I did. But none of my neighbors have said anything. And when I talked to one of my neighbors about it, he said, oh, that's interesting. I actually thought I'd seen more bees this year than I've seen, but they're not really bothering me. I really haven't been paying that close of attention, but I'm sure there are some benefits to the neighborhood for the bees being here, because they're pollinators and they get out and they do what bees do, and that's good for flowers, and it's good for gardens. And so, that was a problem or something I thought would be a problem that didn't end up being a problem. The flip side of that, things that I didn't think were going to be problems that are problems. One of them is, like I say, the learning curve. I had too much confidence from the research that I had done, from the books that I'd read. This guy right here, excellent book. Probably need to reread it. It's got great information, but it's not a masterclass in preparation. Like I say, it's some hands-on goes a long way. As far as like collecting honey and that kind of stuff goes, I haven't really been that worried about it. We are mid-July. If there's enough honey to collect some, I may not take a full super full of honey and try to take it from the bees, but I might take just a couple of frames and put some away for myself, and then try to build bees up and get them ready for winter. I will say it's something that I've enjoyed. At the same time, it adds an extra complexity in life, and something that you do have to think about, and things that you kind of think you might need. There's not a perfect bee store. There are a couple of places. COVID, actually. There are a couple of places in town that do carry some supply, like Tractor Supply type stores. They have a few things, but where I live, smaller town, Idaho, it's just not a thriving metropolis here. We don't have like a super store for bees. You've got the internet, but I do kind of wish that I'd researched a little bit more the supplies I might need, the cost of the supplies. I'm probably into it in total somewhere between $350 and $400, including replacing the queen, whether she needed to be replaced or not. This, by the way, this video that you're looking at, this is 3 weeks after that queen was placed. It's just over 14 days since that queen was placed in the hive. So as you can see, the bees are still there. I never saw anything swarm. I never saw any bearding, as they would call it, where the bees get all on the outside of the box. So if they swarmed, I missed it. But all in all, I think it's been a positive experience for me. I'll still continue to post some updates. If you are considering taking up beekeeping, I think it's fascinating. It is challenging. I thought it would be much easier than it is. And like I say, there's so much to learn. I did do a mite test on my bees. I videoed it, but I haven't posted it because, like I say, I'm not trying to do tutorials, but I had only 2 mites in my 300 bee sample, and everything I could see kind of suggested not really need to treat at that point. It has been almost 4 weeks since I tested, so I'll probably do another mite test later this week and just get a check. I wonder if my mite test actually could have been another potential for harming my queen. I thought I had sorted through and looked at the bees pretty good, but again, it's one of those places where a mentor would come in really handy. So anyway, overall, it's been a pretty good experience. The bees are fascinating. They're not bothering anybody as far as I can see. If I had any do-overs, it would just be researching a little bit more equipment that I need to have on hand, and trying to secure somebody that would be a mentor that could come on site and go through with me, because in my best efforts I still feel like I have a lot of deficiencies. And like queen location, I've done probably 8 different inspections of my hive and only seen a queen one time, and she's a marked queen. So today I tried to look through. The one that I added was marked, but if they had replaced their own queen, which I suspect is possible, that one would not be marked. And so we'll just have to see how it plays out. I think it's been, like I say, a good experience. It's one I would recommend. I just, I think, if you can find somebody to step in with you and kind of help you through it, or maybe you can go to their hives and walk through some of their hives, you'll get a feel for how do you feel about being around the bees? How do you feel about handling the bees? And then what is it that professional eye looks for? How do they inspect their hives, and what are the critical components of an inspection versus what's nice to know? So anyway, appreciate you guys joining me. Beekeeping is very interesting, and I'm still going to see if I can keep this hive going, get it through the winter, and maybe get a second season and see how much honey we can produce with the hive. But it's been a nice hobby and a nice diversion. Just a little bit frustrating and so much to learn. Anyway, folks, have a great day. Thank you so much for joining me. Leave any comments or any advice you have for me in the description below. I've got lots of other videos. I'll do some more with the bees, but you might have some interest in some of the other things I do too. If you're kind of an ADD person and you have random hobbies, good channel for you. Thanks. Have a great day. Check back with me soon.